when we say wealth, we always meant how many cows do you have? How much cattle do you have? This is your wealth. This is the wealth people have always known. And even when I was a child, in my grandfather's house, they would show me one cow and it had a name, said, "This is the cow whose milk you drink, this is your cow mother." And every day you're supposed to go and give her something. I was given a jaggery ball, which I'm supposed to go and give it to her every day because she gives me milk. Between me and her, there is a very strong thing. And this is not a joke, this is not some emotional nonsense. Today we know by scientific studies that if you develop a deep relationship with the cow, its milk and you, there are various chemicals which come together and it nurtures you in a best possible way. There is substantial scientific evidence today in this direction. So we developed a huge relationship with the cow. After having drunk the milk of the cow for 5–10 years, she is old, cut her up and eat her is an unthinkable thing for us because she's like a mother. So from this context, we said killing a cow is not right. Another aspect of it is, if you have a cow at home, people have very deep relationships with the cows in India. Today maybe they've all become hybrid cows, you don't notice that. But in villages, when there are cows inside the house, people have a very strong relationship. When you have this, if you are going through some kind of misery, you will see the cow will shed tears. Actually, it sheds tears. So because of this, because it has human emotion, if killing a cow and eating a cow is considered murder and cannibalism. Apart from that, today we are seeing that scientific evidence. Recently, 3 weeks ago, it was on the Time magazine, but it's been all over the scientific this thing. They've been afraid to publish these things for quite long because of the meat lobbies in the world. After Dale Carnegie and others, they came up with this stuff and they said, most of the heart ailments and heart attack deaths in America are because of beef eating. Now they're saying almost 70% of the cancer is because of red meat eating, okay? So every doctor in the West is telling people, you should not eat red meat, this is the worst thing, and it's an ecological disaster. Producing red meat, eating beef is an ecological disaster, both ways. One thing as a nation that we can be proud of is, though without any kind of infrastructure, without any kind of science or technology, our farmers have been producing food for over 1 billion people, which is no mean achievement. Their own conditions, we all know, is most pitiable, but they have produced food. I will tell you, pick an intelligent man here, an MBA. I will give him 10 acres of very fertile land. I will give him the best seed. Let him take a crop and give it to me, the first crop, let me see. He will see how complex it is. Now, there is a knowledge of agriculture with us for over 8–10,000 years in this country. It has just come down as a samskar, not as a technology, not as a teaching. Now, the land was rich. The reason why it was rich is we never killed the animals. Today, India is the largest exporter of beef. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. Somebody wants to eat something in this country, leave it. The wrong approach is just this. We should not definitely be a beef exporter because we will destroy the land. We will not be able to produce the food that we are producing right now. Unless we make it… I think the government should bring a policy for every acre of land, minimum 4 to 5 animals must be there. Otherwise, we will kill the soil, we will kill the future of this country. It is in that context we have to look at, not in terms of religion. If anybody wants to look at this carefully, we must understand the Hindu religion as we know it has no restriction about eating this or not eating this. It is just that it is a cultural emotion because we have seen the cow as a second mother because we drink the milk of the cow.
I want to stay with this for a minute. And let me tell you, there is empirical evidence to believe that culling of animals beyond a certain age is economically beneficial to those farmers who would otherwise have to support non-usable cattle. But I won't even go there. I don't eat beef, but I don't eat anything except for chicken and lamb, and I'm glad the world hasn't found them to be dangerous
That's
yet.
all you eat?
I mean, I eat a lot of other stuff, but I eat this primarily. Imagine, and you're right, the argument is potent. We were who we were, the cow is the second mother. Imagine someone from a religion or an article of faith who doesn't believe that the cow is the second mother, but lives in this country, has been guaranteed fundamental rights by a constitution which all of us have adopted. What business do we have to interfere with people as long as it is legal? This is also a form of intolerance. This is also a form of my way or the highway. I'm saying if spirituality, if the argument that you brilliantly embellished earlier is about finding yourself, keeping the channels of quest open, if that is the fundamental premise, why do we confuse metaphors with what people want to eat as long as it's legal?
As long as it's legal, but right now there is a law, so it is illegal.
In 4 states there isn't. In 4 states it's legal to eat.
In those states, people are still eating. I'm saying this law has been formed in a confused state. They should make a law that there will be no beef export from this country. Within the country, somebody wants to eat, leave him, it's his way of life. But India should never, it already is unfortunately, should never be a major beef exporter. It should not be a beef exporter of any kind.
Let's go back about 3,800 years ago, and Manu, the misogynist, in Manu Smriti, talked about dhan. We had a culture of philanthropy, we had a culture of giving back to society, primarily fueled in large parts by controlling and creating community clusters. Today we invite a Bill Gates and a Warren Buffett to teach us about giving back to society. There is urgent need for some participation in bringing up large masses of society that are underprivileged. Actually, I call it the impoverishment of opportunity. These people have been denied opportunities. Do you think we are pulling enough weight in bridging this divide? And what can be done? I know the work that you're doing, it was part of the audiovisual, but do you think we need to create a more equal, balanced world, and are we doing enough?
See, we have to understand this about… you went back 3,800 years, let me go back 300 years. 300 years ago, we were one of the most prosperous societies on the planet. Even then, you see all the palaces and fortresses. Maharajas lived in a certain way. But even ordinary people, there was no problem for nourishment, well-being of their own. Maybe not the kind of life that we were expecting today, but they lived according to those days. But this was the most active economy on the planet, we know that. What has happened to us is over nearly 800 to 1,000 years of occupation and disruption. That initial occupation and disruption was a disorganized effort. It was more interested in religion and looting and that kind of stuff. But what came in the last 250 years is very organized way of destroying, where what you stand upon, every bone has been broken. Whatever the nation can stand upon, every single bone has been very strategically broken. So for 65 years of independence, we could have done way better, but we have done not too badly compared to way many other countries which are 65 years old. This is hats off to the Indian people. Without leadership, without visionary leadership, without really a proactive business effort, still people have made it to the extent we have made it, which is a fabulous, fabulous thing which has not happened anywhere. This is simply because of the huge cultural background we have, from which we have inherited a certain level of intellect that… I speak to all kinds of people across the world. You take highest level of academics or scientists or whatever. I find if you just pick a bunch of people in Bangalore or Mumbai or Chennai and speak to them, you will find in a very basic way, they're the smartest lot of people. They may not be trained, they may not be organized, but they're simply smart because they have inherited this. Today there's substantial scientific evidence. Suppose you train a rat, let's say, this generation of rat, you give him gulab jamun. Every time he touches the gulab jamun, give him a shock. 3 times or 4 times if you do it, next 7 generations of rats will not go near a gulab jamun. So this is called samskar. This is learning by simply being in the energy of that life, that you simply learn, not by teaching, not by schooling. You simply learned so many things which are invaluable and which made your intellect in a certain way. So we have not done too badly, there's no need to go on complaining. We have not done as well as we should have done because of a confused leadership continuously for many years.
You meet people from all walks of life across geographies. There was an engagement that the Indian had even during the years of colonization, Mughal, British. And I don't want to be talking about the idea of India, but we were engaged with our cultural legacy. We knew who our poets were. We could recite not only from the scriptures, from the fables. We knew the Dinkars, the Niralas, we celebrated the Vijay Tendulkars, the Badal Sarkars, we celebrated Tagore and Ray. Somehow, that cultural engagement seems to have gone asunder.
Oh, that's not just in India, that is across the world, because most people, their idea of literature today is 140 characters. That means we are working hard to become bird-brained so that we can only tweet.
How many Twitter followers does Sadguru have? No, but seriously, don't you believe somewhere there's
No,
this missing
that
link?
delinking is not just in India. You must see the kids in American schools. It's another world. That way, you must be glad the way your children are in this country. Really, I'm talking. About 7 months ago, I was invited to school in Tennessee. I went. These are all 16, 17-year-old boys and girls. They've grown huge, okay? They're all on animal protein and animal hormones. So
Beef steak, beef steak.
no, those animals have been pumped with all kinds of things, all right? They've grown huge for their age. They're walking like this, you know. I really… tears came to me. Why are they walking like this? Without any sense of humanity, without any sense of regard or respect for life around you, just the way you walk. There is no… at least still our children still are there, I don't know how long they will stay that way, because we are desperately trying to Americanize ourselves. It's very, very important. This culture, the most important thing in this culture has always been the development of the individual human being. We never talked about transforming societies. Revolution has never been an idea in this country because many people have tried and failed, you know, because revolution is not there in the culture. Here, our idea of revolution is, I want to change, this is a revolution. When we started this movement of inner engineering 33 years ago now, I call this the silent revolution of self-realization. Because I want to change you is not a revolution, it's an eternal problem. I am willing to change, this is a revolution. I am willing to change is a revolution. So in this country, always it's been about self-transformation. It's not about changing you or somebody else or the society, because there is no such thing as society, it's just a word. There's only you and me. If you and me are transformed, you don't have to transform the nation or the society. There's no such thing, these are just words. So self-transformation has always been the focus of this nation. Now we kind of sort of lost that focus a little bit, we have to get that focus back. If individual human beings are transformed, why should you worry about fixing the society or the nation?
I just want to end this conversation on seeking your views on two critical issues. You talk about the children of India and you know how you're still assured of their so-called sticking to the idea of India. And then you have, which you very benevolently describe as confused leadership. Where do you see India's political landscape headed? There's more fractionalism, there is more hatred, there is more debasement. We never had people abuse each other in the way we do.
No, that happens only in a couple of channels.
No.
That's not happening on the street. On the street, there is nobody abusing each other.
In Parliament they are. In Parliament they are.
Political spectrum is another world. I'm saying, don't make just, as you said, just don't make 542 people as India, okay? You just walk on the streets. You walk on the streets of Mumbai, not in the elite colonies, go to the slum, walk. Will simply somebody abuse you? It's not true. If you walk with a smile on your face, everybody welcomes you. You go to any village, just walk through the village. You think people will abuse you? It's not true. It's not at all true. This is not the experience. They have not seen India, that's all. At one time I crisscrossed India on my motorcycle. I just rode into some village, some town. I just go knock on somebody's door and say, I'm hungry. Not one home ever told me, no food, get out, who are you? They always fed me. They would ask me, would you want to shower, would you want to rest for the night? Really, I slept in many homes, I ate and slept in many homes. I never asked their names, they never asked my name. I just slept there, we had a most wonderful engagement, next day morning I rode away. This can't happen in any other country, believe me.
I think that's a very interesting point to end the conversation on. Interesting that you believe, and I'm delighted you do, that the idea of India is still sacred, that the Indian citizen is still as benevolent as he was or she was.
Let me correct that a bit, because we have not seen nationhood is just an idea, as you repeatedly said. An idea has to burn into people's minds and sink into their hearts, and there must be enormous pride about that. Only then a real nation will happen. This is one job we have not done well in the last 65 years. We have created a confusion as to who we are. We have made it in such a way, we continued the British legacy to such an extent in the form of our education, in the form of political etiquette and the rest, that only now I'm seeing, it's quite amazing and it's amusing to see, suddenly wherever you go in the world, people are proud of being Indian. Otherwise they're slinking around to say, I'm not Indian. They're even coloring their hair blonde and don't want to look Indian. They want to look like somebody else, they would like to change their names. I meet this guy, because you're from Calcutta, I'm saying, I meet this guy, is Anirudh Bhattacharya. He's… Andy Bat. So I'm saying, this idea has to be made to reverberate in everybody. First of all, we were called Bharat. I'm not… because I know some political people have picked it up, I'm not picking in those terms. This word Bharata comes from a certain context. Bha means bhava or the sensation. When we say sensation, human experience is essentially a sensation because everything that you experience, see, hear, smell, taste, is a sensory organ. That means it's in the form of a sensation. In your mind, you may give it a meaning. If you touch something, if you taste something, if you see something, first thing is a sensation. So this is called as bhava or the experience of life. Ra meant raga. Raga means the tune of life. This is not your business, this existence has set, this is the nature of the creation. Now tala means the rhythm. Now if you find the rhythm, if you find your tala right, you ride the life. If you don't find the tala right, you will be crushed by the same process of life. Same life, sitting next to each other. One is in a state of joy, another is in a state of misery. This is an everyday thing everywhere, isn't it? This is because one has found the rhythm, another has not found the rhythm. So we said this is a nation of Bharata. That means we constantly looked at how individual human beings should find their own rhythm with the tune of the existence, then the experience of life is fantastic. When your experience of life is fantastic, you were talking about philanthropy, we don't believe in philanthropy as they are propagating it. That is coming from a certain sense of… it is a wonderful thing what they have done, it is an extraordinarily wonderful thing, whatever Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Azim Premji and now Zuckerberg, all these people and many others, they have done a fabulous thing, unbelievable things, all right, no question about it, both in terms of their achievement and what they've given away. But leaving that aside, there is a certain sense of guilt and a certain sense of struggle in that way of doing things. Here, we always looked at it this way, if you are feeling right now wonderful, if you are feeling truly wonderful, if somebody comes to you, no matter who he is, you will be wonderful in response. If you are feeling nasty and frustrated about something, if somebody comes in front of you, you tend to be nasty to that person. So the only thing we focused on is, don't try to control your behavior, no moral, no ethics, no nothing. You just manage your interiority. If you keep this in a joyful, blissful state, you are guaranteed that you will be a wonderful human being and you will build a wonderful society. What you have to do, you'll anyway do, not because of values, but simply because of your humanity. You are trying to replace morality in the place of humanity. No, you stir up humanity which is guaranteed, because that's what you are. Morality, you give them any kind of morality, they're geniuses in finding a way around that.